Listen to me carefully, because this is the moment that can change everything for you. If you want 2026 to be a breakthrough year, you have to be ruthless with what's holding you back. The truth is, it's not the economy, it's not luck, it's the things you're tolerating right now, the doubts, the fears, the distractions, the toxic energy, and the excuses. These are the chains keeping you small. And if you're ready to step into your power, to finally live at your potential, to create unstoppable momentum, then it's time to delete them one by one and reclaim your life. Before you can rise into who you're meant to become in 2026, you have to be brutally honest about the people you allow into your world. Every dream, every breakthrough, every transformation you want, it's all shaped by the energy that surrounds you. And sometimes the biggest weight holding you down isn't your circumstances, your skills, or your past. It's the people who are close enough to influence your state, your decisions, your confidence, and your momentum. That's why the first thing you must delete before 2026 is toxic relationships. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, out of self-respect, out of clarity for your future, out of the understanding that you cannot grow in soil that isn't nourishing you. You've met those people, the ones who always have something negative to say, something discouraging to whisper, something sarcastic to throw at your dreams. The people who get uncomfortable when you start improving, the ones who laugh when you talk big, the ones who secretly hope you stay exactly where you are so they never feel insecure about where they're not. They drain your energy without even trying. And if you're not careful, you start adjusting your goals downward so you don't make them uncomfortable. You start shrinking so you don't stand out. You start apologizing for wanting more. That's not a life. That's a slow suffocation of your potential. But here's the truth. Your life is always moving in the direction of the people you spend the most time around. Their standards become your standards. Their fears become your internal dialogue. Their habits become your lifestyle. Their expectations become the mirror you see yourself through. And if their energy is infected with doubt, jealousy, laziness, blame, sarcasm, or bitterness, you absorb it whether you want to or not. This is why deleting toxic relationships isn't a dramatic act, it's a survival act. Because your future self is being shaped by your present environment. Now, deleting doesn't always mean blocking someone, cutting them out overnight, or creating chaos. Sometimes deleting is simply creating distance. Sometimes it's emotional detachment. Sometimes it's deciding that you're no longer available for conversations that lower your vibration. Sometimes it's no longer asking advice from people whose lives don't reflect what you want. It's not cruel, it's clarity. Because the moment you decide your future is non-negotiable, you become intentional about who gets access to you. Think about the goals you have for 2026. Think about the level you want to be operating at. Think about the discipline, the hunger, the joy, the confidence you'll need to get there. Now ask yourself, who around you supports that version of you? Who fuels your fire? Who believes in you even when you stumble? Who challenges you? Not because they want control, but because they want to see you rise. Those people stay. Those people grow with you. Those people deserve front row access. Everyone else, they can stay in the balcony or outside the building entirely, but the hardest part isn't letting go of obviously toxic people. The hardest part is letting go of familiar comfort. Some relationships aren't openly negative. They're subtly limiting. They're passive. They celebrate your wins with a little less enthusiasm. They give advice from a place of fear, not possibility. They want you to be happy, but not too ambitious. They want you to improve, but not to outgrow the circle. They don't sabotage you. They just don't stretch you. And you need to understand this. The person you're becoming cannot survive in the environment that created the person you used to be. You were not designed to stay stuck in the same emotional places. You were built to evolve. And evolution requires friction. It requires pruning. It requires choosing growth over comfort. You cannot take everyone with you. Some people belong to old chapters of your story, and if you keep dragging them into the new ones, you'll never experience the transformation that is waiting for you. Every time you say yes to someone who drains you, you are saying no to your own future. Every time you tolerate disrespect, negativity, gossip, drama, or emotional chaos, you are signaling to your mind that this is acceptable, that this is normal, that this is allowed. And then you wonder why you feel heavy, unmotivated, unfocused, disconnected from your goals. Your energy is being siphoned by connections that no longer align with your destiny. Before 2026 arrives, you must make one powerful decision. Choose the people who choose your growth. Choose the people who add value to your spirit. Choose the people who challenge you to level up, not level down. Choose the people who clap when you win, who pray for you when you struggle, who remind you of who you are when you forget. But more than that, choose people whose lifestyle and actions reflect the future you were building, not the past you escaped. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Growth always disrupts something, but you'll begin to notice something incredible. When you delete the wrong people, the right people finally have space to show up. When you detox your environment, your creativity returns. Your discipline gets sharper. Your self-respect rises. Your dreams feel alive again. Opportunities come faster. Your mental clarity becomes stronger. You start waking up with purpose instead of pressure. You start believing in yourself with a force you haven't felt in years. This is what happens when your circle aligns with your vision. You owe yourself that. You owe your future that. You owe the best version of you the environment it needs to breathe, stretch, and dominate. Don't enter 2026 dragging dead weight. Don't cross into your next chapter surrounded by voices that were never meant to travel with you. You are rewriting your story. Protect it, guard it, build it intentionally, person by person. Because the truth is simple, you rise higher when the people around you are rising too. And the moment you release the toxic, the doubtful, the draining, the jealous, the unaligned, you make room for the people who will help you become unstoppable. This is where your transformation begins. If you want to create the life you've always imagined, there's one thing that will either accelerate your success or silently sabotage it: the voice inside your own mind. That voice, the one that whispers doubts, reminds you of past failures, questions your worth, is one of the heaviest chains you carry. And if you want to enter 2026 ready to dominate your goals, ready to rise into your potential, the second thing you must delete is self-doubt and all the limiting beliefs you've unconsciously been holding on to. These are not just thoughts. They're the invisible barriers that stop you from moving, that freeze you in indecision, that whisper, not now, not you, not possible. And here's the truth. Nothing in your life can grow beyond the limits of your own belief system. Self-doubt is sneaky. It doesn't always come roaring like a storm. Sometimes it's subtle, quiet, disguised as caution or realism. It tells you that you're not ready, not skilled enough, not deserving of success. It convinces you to settle for less than you're capable of. It wraps itself in reason, logic, and past experience so convincingly that you start thinking you're being practical when in reality, you're being small. Every time you listen to it, every time you let it guide your choices, you are giving the steering wheel of your life to fear. And fear is not an ally, it's a chain. The problem is, most people don't even recognize their limiting beliefs. They're like invisible anchors tied to their ankles. They believe, I'm just not good at this, I failed before, so I will fail again, or people like me don't get opportunities like that. And the dangerous part, these thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies. The moment you say it, your brain begins to work in ways that justify it. You hold back, you hesitate, you avoid risk, you wait for someone to tell you it's okay to try. And every day that passes, you move further away from the life you could have created. But let me tell you this, you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You have the power to question them, challenge them, and ultimately replace them. And here's the most important rule. If a thought does not serve your highest vision of yourself, it is lying to you. If it makes you small, it is not telling the truth. If it is keeping you from action, it is your enemy. And you must delete it before you enter 2026, because the new year will reward clarity, confidence, and courage, not hesitation, not fear, not indecision. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every belief you hold is a seed. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, that's exactly what grows. Weeds sprout everywhere, choking out the possibilities, leaving no room for opportunity, no sunlight for confidence, no water for progress. But the moment you uproot the toxic thoughts, the moment you consciously plant seeds of possibility, self-trust, and abundance, something incredible happens. Your brain starts seeking solutions, your energy shifts, your actions align with your goals. Suddenly, the impossible feels possible, the distant feels reachable, and you find yourself taking steps you never imagined you could. Now, replacing self-doubt isn't about repeating affirmations that don't feel real. It's about creating undeniable evidence in your life that proves to your brain and heart that you are capable. Every small action, every deliberate step forward is proof. Every time you choose courage over comfort, action over hesitation, belief over fear, you are retraining the most powerful organ in your body, your mind. And the best part, it compounds. Confidence grows like a muscle. Each success, no matter how small, builds a new neural pathway, rewiring your brain to expect possibility, to anticipate success, to trust your own ability. Limiting beliefs often come dressed as safety, but safety is not growth. Safety is stagnation disguised as protection. The moment you stop doubting yourself, the moment you remove the internal I can't, the moment you say, how can I make this happen? Instead of I'll never be ready, you open doors you didn't even know existed. Opportunities start showing up. Ideas you ignored start demanding your attention. Your energy changes. Your presence becomes magnetic because confidence is contagious. People start believing in you because you believe in yourself. And let's be honest, most of the limitations you've been carrying are borrowed. They come from parents, teachers, friends, or society telling you what's realistic or appropriate. They are echoes of other people's fears, not your own. When you let these beliefs dictate your life, you are living someone else's story, not yours. You are settling into a version of yourself that was never meant to exist. But when you delete them, when you consciously reject the narrative that says you're not enough, you reclaim your story. You reclaim your power. You reclaim your life. This process takes courage because it requires facing yourself in the mirror and saying, these thoughts have been lying to me and I am done listening. It requires you to take ownership of your mind, to become a master of your inner world, to refuse to allow fear and doubt to control your choices. And yes, it may be uncomfortable at first. Old beliefs cling. Your brain will resist. It will try to convince you to go back to the familiar, to stay small, to shrink. But every time you stand firm, every time you challenge a limiting thought, every time you choose belief over doubt, you are training your mind to become your ally instead of your enemy. You also need to be conscious of how your environment reinforces doubt. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, all of it either fuels confidence or fuels fear. If you want to delay self-doubt, you must also delete the influences that feed it. Surround yourself with people who believe in possibility, who lift you higher, who challenge you to step into your greatness. Consume ideas that expand your thinking. Speak in ways that reinforce strength. Thought by thought, conversation by conversation. You are designing the mindset that will carry you to your 2026 transformation. And here's the final truth. The only thing standing between you and the life you've imagined is the belief that it's impossible. Delete that belief. Watch what happens when doubt no longer drives your decisions. Watch what happens when you stop letting fear write your story. Watch as doors open, opportunities multiply, confidence surges, and your potential becomes undeniable. Because the moment you delete self-doubt and limiting beliefs, you stop surviving. You start living. You stop hesitating. You start creating. And there is nothing more powerful than a mind fully aligned with the truth of its own potential. If you want to step into your highest potential, you need to understand one fundamental truth. Your habits shape your destiny, not your intentions, not your ideas, not even your goals, your habits. They are the invisible architecture of your life. Every action you repeat, every choice you make unconsciously compounds over time, building either the life you dream about or the life you settle for. And if you want to transform your life by 2026, the third thing you must delete is unproductive habits. Because habits are like seeds. The ones you nurture grow into towering trees of success. The ones you ignore grow into weeds that choke your future. Take a moment and really think about your daily routine. How much of it is intentional, designed to move you closer to your dreams, and how much of it is automatic, mindless feeding patterns that keep you stuck? Most people think they are in control, but the truth is the majority of their days are ruled by unconscious habits. Scrolling endlessly on social media, binge watching shows to escape reality, hitting snooze one more time, procrastinating until the pressure becomes unbearable. Every minute spent in these loops is energy, time, and potential stolen from your future. And the danger is that these habits don't feel harmful in the moment. They feel comfortable, familiar, safe. But comfort does not equal growth. Comfort is the enemy of excellence. Unproductive habits are like invisible chains. They don't tie you down physically, but they drain your energy, dull your focus, and distract you from what truly matters. And what's worse, they condition your mind to accept mediocrity as normal. Every time you allow yourself to procrastinate, every time you give in to distraction, every time you postpone discipline for temporary pleasure, you are programming your brain to stay small. You are training your mind to accept the status quo instead of demanding more from yourself. And if you do not interrupt these patterns, you will enter 2026 with the same habits that have been holding you back for years. But here's the incredible part. The same principles that compound against you also work for you. The habits you intentionally build will also compound. Small, consistent actions repeated daily become unstoppable momentum over time. Waking up 30 minutes earlier to focus on personal growth, dedicating 20 minutes a day to deliberate practice, prioritizing tasks that move the needle. These small disciplines transform into a life you could have never imagined. It's not magic, it's math. Your life is the sum of the actions you take consistently, not the ideas you wish you had. Breaking unproductive habits requires awareness first. You cannot change what you cannot see. Start by observing yourself without judgment. What do you do automatically that doesn't serve you? Where do you spend your time that doesn't move you forward? Which habits leave you feeling drained, guilty, or frustrated at the end of the day? Write them down. Be honest. This is not a confession. It's a diagnosis. Because until you identify the patterns that steal your energy, you will keep repeating them, thinking you're stuck or incapable, when the truth is simply that you haven't been aware. Once you've identified the habits, it's time to delete them. But deletion is not about willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource. Habits are stronger than willpower. True transformation comes from creating systems that replace the old with the new. For every habit you remove, replace it with one that serves your growth. For example, if you find yourself mindlessly scrolling through social media, replace that time with reading, journaling, or working on a skill that compounds over time. If you procrastinate tasks that feel uncomfortable, create a ritual that makes starting them automatic, like breaking them into micro actions that are impossible to avoid. The key is to make new habits so easy and compelling that your brain chooses them without a fight. Another critical part of deleting unproductive habits is understanding triggers. Habits are often responses to specific cues, stress, boredom, fatigue, or social pressure. Identify what triggers your unproductive behaviors and interrupt the chain. If you scroll endlessly when you're stressed, create a stress response routine that empowers you instead. A walk, deep breathing, or a focused task that channels your energy. If you eat or indulge in ways that leave you sluggish, identify the moments you're most vulnerable and design an environment that supports better choices. Your environment either reinforces habits that lift you or habits that limit. To you, it's your responsibility to make it work for you. Consistency is the ultimate currency. Habits are not built overnight. They are cultivated over weeks, months, and years. But this is where the compounding effect works in your favor. Every small improvement, every disciplined choice, every time you refuse the easy path multiplies exponentially. 1 hour of focus today becomes 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, hundreds of hours a year. Suddenly you are not just incrementally better, you are operating on an entirely new level. And let's be clear, deleting unproductive habits is not about perfection. You will stumble, you will slip, you will occasionally fall back into old patterns. What separates those who succeed from those who fail is not perfection, but commitment to getting back on track immediately. A habit is only broken when you stop forgiving yourself for failure and start designing your environment and your systems so that failure becomes difficult and success becomes automatic. You create momentum that becomes unstoppable, even in the face of setbacks. One of the most overlooked aspects of deleting unproductive habits is the emotional and mental clarity it brings. When you eliminate behaviors that steal your time and energy, you free mental bandwidth for creativity, focus, and growth. Your mind becomes sharper, your decision-making becomes easier, and your confidence rises because you are no longer sabotaging yourself. You begin to see possibilities that were invisible before, opportunities that were obscured by distraction, and solutions that were buried under the noise of inefficiency. Before 2026 arrives, make the commitment, audit your daily actions ruthlessly, delete what doesn't serve your vision, build habits that reinforce your goals, prioritize discipline over convenience, focus over distraction, energy over depletion. Every habit you delete is like clearing the road ahead, removing obstacles that slow you down, creating space for acceleration, momentum, and transformation. Because the truth is simple. Your life is not about luck, talent, or circumstance. It's about what you do consistently. Habits either build the life you want or guarantee you stay stuck. And the choice is yours. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that keeps people small. It hides in plain sight, dressed as caution, self-protection, or realism. It whispers in your ear that you're not ready, that you might fail, that the risk is too high. And the truth is, fear has kept more dreams from coming to life than lack of talent, lack of resources, or lack of opportunity ever could. If you want to transform your life by 2026, the fourth thing you must delete is the fear of failure. Not someday, not later, right now. Because every second you hesitate, every moment you let fear drive your decisions, you delay the life that is waiting for you. Fear of failure is sneaky. It doesn't always show up as panic or dread. Sometimes it masquerades as overthinking, procrastination, or perfectionism. Sometimes it convinces you to wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect opportunity. And the moment you believe that illusion, you are paralyzed. You become a spectator in your own life, watching opportunities pass while convincing yourself that inaction is safe. But here's the secret. There is no safety in fear. Fear does not protect you. It traps you. And the more you avoid it, the more powerful it becomes. Failure is not the enemy. It is feedback. It is information. It is a signal that tells you what is working and what is not, where you need to adjust and where you need to double down. Every successful person, every innovator, every leader you admire has failed. They didn't succeed despite their failures. They succeed. Because they embraced them, learned from them, and refused to let fear dictate their next move. Yet most people think failing is shameful, that making a mistake defines their worth. That mindset is the exact reason they stay stuck, small, and unfulfilled. You have to change the way you think about risk and failure. You have to see them as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. Every risk you take, every bold step forward, even if it doesn't turn out as planned, is an investment in your growth. Fear will always be present when you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. That's a natural part of the process. The difference is whether you let it control you or whether you harness it to push further, to stretch, to expand. Fear can be fuel if you decide to use it that way. Deleting the fear of failure starts with ownership. You have to stop blaming circumstances, waiting for permission, or hoping that someone else will clear the path. The moment you claim responsibility for your life, fear loses its grip. You realize that the only person standing between you and your vision is you. And yes, that is both terrifying and empowering at the same time. Fear thrives on the illusion of helplessness, but once you accept that you are in control of your choices, its power diminishes. Another part of this is action. The antidote to fear is movement. You don't wait for fear to disappear. You act in spite of it. You start small if you have to, but you start the moment you take deliberate action. Even in the face of uncertainty, you reclaim power over your life. Fear loses its voice because momentum has a louder one. Every step you take, every choice you make toward your goals proves to your mind and body that you are capable, that failure is temporary, and that growth is inevitable. It's also important to understand that fear is relative. Often what we fear the most not the actual outcome, but our perception of it. We imagine the worst case scenario, inflate the stakes, and assign permanent meaning to temporary setbacks. But reality is rarely as catastrophic as our minds convince us it will be. When you delete the fear of failure, you start seeing challenges as experiments. You start seeing mistakes as lessons. You start seeing setbacks as redirections. And suddenly the world feels less threatening and more full of opportunity. Fear also thrives in isolation. When you keep your dreams to yourself, when you hide your ambitions because of what others might think, fear grows. It feeds on secrecy and self-doubt. But when you share your vision, when you seek guidance, mentorship, or even just accountability, fear loses its power. You realize that others have walked this path before you, that mistakes are universal, and that every stumble is a chance to learn, adjust, and come back stronger. Courage is contagious, and once you step into it, fear begins to shrink. Another critical aspect is reframing your relationship with failure. Most people define themselves by their mistakes, but the truth is, your worth is not measured by outcomes. It's measured by your commitment, your courage, and your willingness to continue. Every failure is temporary, every mistake is an opportunity, and every setback contains a lesson that moves you closer to your ultimate vision. The moment you internalize that, fear begins to lose its emotional hold over you. You no longer avoid action, you seek it. You no longer play it safe, you take bold steps. You no longer doubt yourself, you trust your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. And let's be clear, deleting the fear of failure is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a commitment to step into uncertainty with courage. It's about consciously choosing action over hesitation, growth over comfort, and possibility over paralysis. It's about rewiring your mind to expect learning instead of punishment, progress instead of perfection, resilience instead of retreat. Every time you confront fear, you train your nervous system to handle bigger challenges, take bigger risks, and move faster toward your dreams. Before 2026 arrives, make this decision. Refuse to let fear dictate your life. Refuse to let fear delay your goals. Refuse to let fear determine your worth. When you delete the fear of failure, you give yourself permission to dream bigger, move faster, and step into a life that most people only imagine. Because the only limits that truly exist are the ones you accept. And the only way to become unstoppable is to act in spite of fear. The moment you delete the fear of failure, you reclaim your power. Clutter is more than just physical. It's mental, emotional, and even digital. And if you want to step into 2026 as a person capable of achieving everything you desire, The fifth thing you must delete is clutter in every form, because clutter isn't just about messy rooms or piled up papers. It's about distraction, confusion, and wasted energy. It's about all the unnecessary noise that keeps you from seeing clearly, thinking clearly, and acting clearly. Your environment, your mind, and your schedule are mirrors of your inner state. When they are cluttered, your potential is suffocated. When they are clear, your vision expands, your energy multiplies, and your momentum accelerates. Most people underestimate the power of clutter because it's often invisible. It hides in corners, in closets, in digital folders, and even in the back of your mind. Every unfinished task, every unmade decision, every chaotic space creates a weight on your subconscious. Your brain is processing it constantly, even if you're not aware of it. That email you haven't answered, that paper you've been aiming to file, that messy desk, that overflowing inbox, all of it steals attention, focus, and mental clarity. And when your mental space is crowded, your creativity is blocked, your decisions are slower, and your energy is drained. You cannot operate at peak performance in a cluttered environment, whether physical, mental, or emotional. Physical clutter is the easiest to notice, yet many people ignore it because it's uncomfortable to confront. Look around your space right now. What is distracting you? What is taking up space that doesn't serve your purpose, doesn't bring you joy, or doesn't support your growth? Every object that doesn't serve a function or inspire you is silently demanding your attention. Every unnecessary possession, every pile of things you might need someday is holding you back. Clearing your environment is more than cleaning. It's a declaration that your space and therefore your life is intentional. It's a commitment to function at your best and to create an environment that fuels rather than drains your energy. But physical clutter is only the beginning. Mental clutter is far more dangerous because it directly impacts how you think, act, and decide. Mental clutter is all the unfinished business, worries, doubts, and indecision that you carry in your mind. It's the constant replay of conversations, regrets, what ifs, and should haves. Your mind is not a filing cabinet. It is a high-performance tool designed to generate ideas, solve problems, and create solutions. When it's crowded with unnecessary thoughts, your clarity is compromised and your potential is diminished. You cannot move decisively when your mental space is cluttered with doubts, distractions, or indecision. One of the most insidious forms of clutter is emotional baggage. Old resentment, grudges, guilt, and shame act like invisible chains around your psyche. You carry them everywhere you go, weighing down your energy and your confidence. Every interaction, every decision, every goal you try to pursue is influenced subtly or overtly by the emotional weight you refuse to release. You cannot move freely into the next chapter of your life if you are dragging the past behind you. Deleting emotional clutter is about forgiveness, not for anyone else, but for yourself. It's about clearing the space within to allow growth, creativity, and joy to flow. Digital clutter is a modern enemy that most people overlook, but it is just as powerful as physical and mental clutter. Your phone, your inbox, your social media feed, your apps, and your notifications are designed to capture your attention and fragment your focus. Every unnecessary alert, every unimportant email, every app that distracts you is a tiny thief of time and energy. By consciously deleting digital clutter, unsubscribing from distractions, limiting notifications, organizing files, and creating systems, you reclaim mental bandwidth, focus, and energy that can now be directed toward what truly matters. Clutter is also a reflection of priorities. If your schedule is overbooked with meaningless tasks, meetings that drain you, or commitments that do not align with your goals, you are cluttering your time and your life. Time is your most valuable resource. You cannot create more of it, and every moment wasted on things that don't serve your vision is a moment stolen from your potential. Learn to ruthlessly prioritize. Delete the unnecessary, the unaligned, and the trivial. Protect your calendar as fiercely as you protect your health and your vision. Deleting clutter in every form, physical, mental, emotional, and digital, creates an environment for success. It creates clarity, energy, and focus. When you declutter, you create space for opportunity, for creativity, and for growth. You give ourselves permission to think clearly, to act decisively, and to live intentionally. You free your mind from distraction, your heart from emotional baggage, and your schedule from meaningless obligations. Suddenly, decisions become easier, momentum becomes natural, and progress becomes inevitable. But here's the key. Deleting clutter is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a habit, a commitment to consciously design your life. It's about asking yourself every day, what does not serve me? What drains my energy? What is in the way of my clarity and my goals? Then acting immediately to remove it. Every moment you spend surrounded by clutter is a moment of lost potential, wasted energy, and delayed progress. Every decision you make to delete what doesn't belong is a decision to move faster, think clearer, and live larger. Before 2026, make a commitment to yourself. Clear the clutter from your life. Clean your space, clear your mind, release old emotions, and simplify your schedule. Create an environment that supports your highest vision. When you do this, you create momentum, you create focus, you create freedom, and with clarity, energy, and space, your ability to act, to create, and to achieve becomes unstoppable, because the truth is simple: clarity creates power and clutter steals it. If you want to step into 2026 fully alive, fully empowered, and fully capable of achieving your highest goals, there is one thing you must confront with brutal honesty: excuses. Excuses are the invisible chains that hold people back from greatness. They are the stories we tell ourselves to justify inaction, to soften failure, to rationalize why we are not where we want to be. If you want transformation, if you want real progress, the sixth thing you must delete is excuses and delays. Because every time you justify inaction, every time you postpone what matters most, you are rating your future for temporary comfort, and there is no more expensive trade than that. Excuses come in many forms. Sometimes they are obvious. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I'm not ready yet. Other times they are subtle, disguised as rationalizations or priorities. I'll start tomorrow, I need more information, I just need to feel motivated first. But the truth is that every excuse is a choice. Every excuse is a decision to stay where you are rather than take ownership of where you could be. And the longer you allow excuses to dictate your behavior, the further you drift from the life you are capable of creating. Delays are the sister of excuses. They are the subtle, quiet killers of momentum. They convince you that waiting is smart, that the perfect timing will arrive, that preparation is more important than action. But the moment you wait for perfection, the moment you postpone, the moment you rely on external conditions to feel safe or ready, you give your power away. Life does not wait for you to feel ready. Opportunity does not pause until you are perfectly aligned. The world moves at its own pace, and the people who succeed are the ones who act anyway, in spite of uncertainty, fear, or imperfection. Excuses are seductive because they protect you from discomfort. They allow you to blame external circumstances rather than looking inward. They make you feel safe in the short term while stealing your long-term potential. Every excuse you make reinforces the belief that your future is out of your control, that your life is shaped by luck or circumstance rather than your choices. And once you believe that, action becomes optional, progress becomes inconsistent, and your dreams drift further away. But here's the truth. The only person responsible for your life is you. You cannot outsource your growth, your success, or your fulfillment. You cannot wait for someone else to make the path clear. The moment you delete excuses, the moment you take full responsibility, something incredible happens, your power expands. You realize that the same circumstances that you blamed are irrelevant compared to your ability to act decisively. You realize that waiting is a habit, not a strategy, and action is always the solutio. And excuses thrive when you focus on obstacles rather than solutions. Every excuse begins with, I can't because, and every delay is justified with a reason why now is not the right time. But if you shift your perspective from I can't because to how can I, everything changes. Suddenly, obstacles become challenges to solve, problems become puzzles to figure out, and resistance becomes fuel to push you harder. When you stop giving power to excuses and start giving power to solutions, your momentum becomes unstoppable. One of the most overlooked aspects of deleting excuses is understanding the cost of inaction. Every delay has a price. Every excuse you make has a consequence. The longer you postpone your dreams, the more opportunity passes. The more you wait for the perfect moment, the more the world moves on without you. The people who succeed are not necessarily the most talented or the luckiest. They are the ones who acted, who refused to wait, who took consistent, intentional steps toward their vision, even when it was uncomfortable or uncertain. Excuses also limit your creativity. When you tell yourself that something is impossible or that circumstances are against you, you close your mind to possibilities. You stop looking for solutions. You stop seeing opportunities. But when you delete excuses, you unlock innovation. You start asking, how can I make this happen? Instead of saying, it can't be done, you begin to see paths where none existed before, to leverage resources in ways you never imagined, and to take action that compounds into real results. Delays are equally dangerous because they create inertia. Every day you wait to act, your momentum dies a little more. Procrastination is a silent killer of dreams. The longer you allow delays, the harder it becomes to start. Motivation wanes, energy dissipates, and the voice of fear grows louder. The only way to overcome delays is to act immediately, decisively, and consistently. Action breeds momentum. Momentum breeds confidence. Confidence fuels more action. And before you know it, what once seemed impossible is within reach. Deleting excuses and delays also requires honesty with yourself. You must confront the uncomfortable truth that the barriers you've been blaming are often self-imposed. The financial excuse, the time excuse, the readiness excuse, they are rarely as insurmountable as you imagine. You have more resources, more time, more ability than you give yourself credit for, but you will never realize it if you continue to justify inaction. Growth, achievement, and transformation do not come to those who wait. They come to those who act. It also requires courage. Excuses are comforting because they protect you from judgment, failure, and discomfort. But courage is what transforms life. Courage is the willingness to step forward even when the path is unclear, even when risk is present, even when you might stumble. Every time you choose courage over excuse, you strengthen your capacity to act, to lead, and to create the life you want. And with consistent courage, the habit of action replaces the habit of delay, and your potential expands exponentially. The process of deleting excuses is ongoing. You will be tempted. Life will throw obstacles, challenges, and setbacks in your way. Old habits of rationalization will try to creep back in. But every time you notice an excuse forming, interrupt it. Replace it with action. Replace it with responsibility. Replace it with accountability. Do not give space for rationalizations to flourish. Treat excuses like weeds. Pull them out as soon as they appear, or they will spread and choke your growth. Before 2026 arrives, make a commitment to yourself. No more waiting. No more justifying. No more postponing your life. Own your decisions, own your actions, and own your results. Take consistent steps every day toward your vision. Act in spite of fear, uncertainty, or imperfection. Refuse to give power to excuses, because every time you do, you are choosing delay over destiny. Because the truth is simple. Action creates results and excuses steal them.